Hey, Tailblazers! I'm Rebecca Cunningham, and this is Girl Tales, a kids podcast packed with girl power and stories where every child's voice matters. Before we get started, I want to wish a very happy birthday to Frankie. Frankie, I hope you have an excellent birthday. Thank you so much for listening to Girl Tales. Hey, Grownups! Girl Tales is throwing a podcast party in celebration of the upcoming U.S. election that's taking place on Tuesday, November 5th. Along with other amazing kids podcasts, we're releasing this special episode all about elections and the political process. If you want to hear more, don't miss out on The Past and the Curious and their episode, A Very Unusual Desk. In the Oval Office sits a very important desk, known as the Resolute Desk. This piece of presidential furniture has a history that ties to the age of Arctic exploration, Queen Victoria, and more. This special episode will take you on a journey through the life of a simple wooden desk that has made quite a journey of its own, and will be serving another president soon. You can catch this episode now, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow The Past and the Curious wherever you get your podcasts. Grownups, Girl Tales is brought to you by families like yours. If you would like to hear your child's name at the top of our next episode, or if you would like me to wish them a happy birthday, head to patreon.com/girltales and join a team today. Now, on to our episode. This is the Great Freshwater Election. Enjoy! I'd like to tell you about a friend of mine. Maybe you know her? She's an important person in Freshwater, Mayor Lucinda. Now, if you've heard any stories about Mayor Lucinda, you know she's not always perfect. But she is, overall, a good mayor. She listens to the people and animals of Freshwater whenever they want something to change. She helps everyone come together and agree, even when they have different ideas. And she has Freshwater's best interest at heart. But last year, a big election almost changed everything. The Freshwater mayoral elections happen every 2 years, in the fall. Every resident is invited to vote. The people, talking animals, and magical beings all get to have a say in who leads our town. We all take the day off work, have a big outdoor party with pumpkins and cookies and warm apple cider. And then we vote. Now, technically, anyone could run for mayor as long as they've lived in Freshwater for at least 1 year. But most folks were happy with Mayor Lucinda, so she usually won by a landslide. Usually. Last year, about a month before the election, signs started popping up around town. Big billboards that read, "Mayor Lucinda is mean," and "Mayor Lucinda doesn't like kittens." Things that simply were not true, but the billboards got everyone talking. 1 week later, a sign went up across the street from Town Hall. It read, "Choose Monty Acrid for mayor." But who was Monty Acrid? Ms. Katrina Van Tassel, the theater teacher, had heard of him. She told Dr. Franny K. Stein, our resident scientist, that Monty Acrid was a businessman from New York City. Dr. Franny Stein asked Pip Van Winkle how a New York City businessman could run for mayor of Freshwater. Pip Van Winkle asked Imani the shoemaker, who asked Akari the baker, who went straight to Mayor Lucinda and asked her. Mayor Lucinda had noticed the signs and the rumbling of Freshwater residents. Mayor Lucinda called Shirley Holmes, a great detective.
"Shirley, would you mind looking into this Monty Acrid fellow? I'm on the case."
Shirley checked the public records and found out that exactly 1 year before the election, Monty Acrid had bought a big mansion on the edge of Freshwater. So technically he had been a resident for long enough to run for mayor.
I'm not too worried, Shirley. I am the most qualified person to be mayor, and I know Freshwater will make the right choice.
Later that day, Monty Acrid drove into town in a bright red convertible. He stood in front of Freshwater Town Hall with a bullhorn, giving out free concert tickets and telling everyone to vote for him.
Hello, people of Freshwater. It is me, Monty Acrid, your future mayor. I've got big plans for Freshwater, and I promise to make you all rich. Vote for me if you want to make Freshwater rich.
Between meetings, Mayor Lucinda watched the commotion from her office window. People were lining up for the tickets and to shake Monty Acrid's hand. She couldn't believe it.
I can't believe it.
That went on for a week, with Monty standing outside Town Hall and telling everyone he could make them rich. And some of the people of Freshwater believed it. After all, Monty Acrid was a big success. He had a mansion and a fancy car, and he wore suits. He gave out purple hats printed with his motto, "Make Freshwater Rich." Mayor Lucinda couldn't walk down the street without seeing one of those hats. She was starting to get a little annoyed. This guy didn't know Freshwater. He just had enough money to run a big campaign. Her own campaign could only afford to give out buttons. And even though she had help from volunteers, being mayor meant she was too busy to meet people on the street every day. Unlike Monty Acrid. Weeks went by, and Mayor Lucinda kept working hard for the residents of Freshwater. Her staff ran a few Meet the Mayor events at the bakery and the bookstore, while Monty Acrid flew in a circus troupe to perform a free show for all residents of Freshwater. He also brought a carnival to town and paid the entry fee for everyone who said they'd vote for him. Not many Freshwater residents noticed it, but Monty didn't let any animals or magical beings into his circus or carnival. When Sasha the goat and Trevor the troll tried to buy a ticket, Monty whispered something to the ticket seller, who turned Sasha and Trevor away. The ticket seller said something about not enough room, but let the next group of humans in. Mayor Lucinda simply could not keep up with Monty Acrid's spending. He must have spent tens of thousands of dollars on the election. Mayor Lucinda started to worry.
Will the people, animals, and magical beings who call Freshwater home really vote for this guy just because of a circus and a carnival and some hats?
The day of the election dawned, a brisk autumn day. The sugar maple leaves were bright red, and the sawtooth oak leaves were a lovely yellow. The wind picked up, and the leaves sank to the ground, along with Mayor Lucinda's hopes. Everywhere there were signs, hats, t-shirts, and banners for Monty Acrid, and only a handful of buttons for Mayor Lucinda. She got in line to vote, and as always, she paused before such a big decision. You see, Mayor Lucinda liked to use that time in the voting booth to reflect. Was she definitely the best one for the job? In her time in office, she had always acted in the best interest of the town. And if she ever made a mistake, like when she restricted Hallie's bagpiping hours, she admitted her mistake and made changes. She couldn't say that for Monty Acrid. Mayor Lucinda didn't for a moment believe his promises to make Freshwater rich. Plus, to her, riches were less important than friendship and community. Looking down at her voting ballot, she made her decision. She was the best person for the job. So, Mayor Lucinda ticked the box next to her name. She turned in her ballot to be counted and walked out of the polling place, which was the big meeting room in Freshwater's town hall. Monty Acrid brushed past Mayor Lucinda as he came out of the voting booth. He had a big smile on his face and was waving to everyone.
People of Freshwater, I just voted for your new mayor. Me. And I will tell you something. If you elect me, you will all get rich.
Mayor Lucinda's stomach hurt. She stopped by the outdoor party, where Pippa and I were hanging out with our dogs Cheese and Sherlock. Plenty of our friends were there. Shirley Holmes, Katrina Van Tassel, Pip Van Winkle, Farmer McDonald, Imani, Akari, Ishbel, and lots of families, too. The Singh family, Fia's family, Vasilisa's family, and her mom, Sala and her dad, lots of Freshwater residents. We were chatting when Sasquatch, who is normally very calm, came over to us with a fierce look in her eyes.
They're telling the animals and magical beings that we can't vote.
But you absolutely can vote. You are residents of Freshwater. You should have a say.
I insisted on being allowed to vote, but the fairies and many of the animals believed them and went away without voting.
Who was it that told them they couldn't?
The people who worked for Monty Acrid.
Mayor Lucinda looked over at the entrance to Town Hall, where everyone was supposed to vote. Baba Yaga the witch and Circe the goddess were standing with Cat in Boots and Enbar the water mare, and two men on the steps were pointing at them and gesturing to move away.
What in the world?
Mayor Lucinda stormed over.
Excuse me, sirs. Move aside and let these residents into our town hall. It is their right, their duty, to vote in a free and fair election.
Reluctantly, the men moved aside. Baba Yaga, Circe, Cat, and Enbar all went in and cast their votes. But Mayor Lucinda wondered just how many animals and magical beings were turned away, and how many of those votes would have been for her. Later that night, as the votes were counted, Mayor Lucinda sat with a cup of tea, waiting by her office phone to hear the result. Before any phone call came, there was a loud knock. Mayor Lucinda opened the door, and a herd of people came streaming into her office.
Excuse me, what are you doing? Put that painting down. Hey, that's my teapot. What is going on here?
And in swaned Monty Acrid, smiling and waving his hands.
My dear Lucinda, let's be frank. We both know I won this election. Why bother waiting for the results? I've brought my decorators. They're going to replace all the wood with marble. And your dinky little mayor's chair with a throne. But I can't wait for you to see it when it's finished. But you'll just have to make an appointment to see Mayor Monty Acrid, like everyone else. Ta-ta.
And he pushed her out of her own office and closed the door behind her. Mayor Lucinda was outraged, but what could she do? He probably had won the election. Mayor Lucinda, now just plain old Lucinda, headed home and went straight to bed. In the morning, she got a phone call from Katrina Van Tassel.
Lucinda, you're technically still the mayor. The vote was split 50-50. As current mayor, you can call a town council to decide things.
Mayor Lucinda got to work. She called every member of the town council, which had representatives of the humans, animals, and magical beings of Freshwater. She made signs and spread the word, telling everyone to attend the town council meeting that very night. The council announced that the votes were split evenly between Mayor Lucinda and Monty Acrid. The council announced an emergency runoff vote in 1 week. Mayor Lucinda went right to work, canvassing every neighborhood and talking to all of the people, animals, gods and goddesses, fairies and cryptids that call Freshwater home. Monty Acrid, meanwhile, made a series of stump speeches where he promised to turn Freshwater Park into an exclusive, expensive golf resort, sell Freshwater Lake to a mining corporation, build a special mayor manor, a new mansion for him to live in, which would require bulldozing a dozen shops, including the bakery, bookstore, and shoe shop, pass new laws restricting the freedom of freshwater's animals and magical beings.
I mean, can we trust these magical entities? They have suspicious powers. Why do they have magic and we don't? They could turn on us at any moment. Come on, people. We have to control them before they control us. Okay, free hats for everybody. These ones say no more magic in freshwater. And this one says animals shouldn't talk. Love you.
Those kinds of speeches helped the people of Freshwater realize Monty Acrid wasn't really interested in helping the people of Freshwater. He was interested in making more money for himself. And he was afraid of magic. Mayor Lucinda held a rally in the park and told the residents of Freshwater that she was committed to listening to them.
You all deserve a voice. You deserve to be heard. Here in Freshwater, we work together to build the future that we want. As your mayor, I haven't always gotten everything right. But I will listen to you, and I will work hard for Freshwater, for every resident's right to be free, to follow their happiness, and to celebrate being themselves.
When the runoff mayoral vote was held, the town council made sure none of Monty Acrid's cronies scared off the animals and magical beings. Everyone who wanted to vote got to. And the vote was a landslide victory for Mayor Lucinda. Monty Acrid left town before the results were announced. Apparently, he bought a floating golf resort in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Mayor Lucinda celebrated with a small party at the town hall. The whole town came. Everyone brought a dish, and we had a grand old time. Since last year's election, Mayor Lucinda has kept her word. She has town hall meetings where any Freshwater resident can bring up something they want to change. So far, Mayor Lucinda has improved the walkways around town and made all buildings accessible for wheelchair users. She even managed to negotiate with Nessie to return some town treasures, and that meant extra money in the Freshwater Town Fund, as well as some wonderful new artifacts in the Freshwater Museum of Natural History. But more importantly, the election showed all of us residents of Freshwater that our vote and our actions matter. We have a say in who leads us, and if we want to improve things for everyone, we have to work together as a community. As Eleanor Roosevelt once said, every cog in the wheel of a democracy is important and bears its share of responsibility for the smooth running of the entire machine. That was The Great Freshwater Election, written by Tessa Flannery, executive produced and performed by Rebecca Cunningham, produced by Megan Bagala. Girl Tales is a Cordelia Studios production. Grownups, you can get access to ad-free episodes of Girl Tales, as well as a range of other shows for the kids in your life by subscribing to Starglow Plus on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to hear me narrate the original stories of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, or Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, head to patreon.com/girltales and join Team Sunnybrook or above. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you loved this story, share it with a friend. Grownups, in the U.S., the election takes place on Tuesday, November 5th. Are you ready to vote? Do you have your voting plan in place? Many states offer early voting or the option to vote by mail, so it's never too soon to get started. If you're unsure how or where to vote, need details on your state's election process, or want to learn about the candidates running, don't wait. Head to vote.gov today and create your voting plan. And remember, kids are the future and future voters. Voting is about making our voices heard, and their thoughts and opinions matter too. Get them involved now by talking about the election, whether it's for your local school board or the presidency, and why being a voter is so important. Give them space to ask questions and bring them along when you vote, whether that be at the polls or when mailing in your ballot. Visit vote.gov and make your voting plan today. Oh, and remember, I believe in you.
There's a hill and a road and a path where I know you must go. Through the sun, wind, rain, or snow. But wherever you venture, you can always come home. 'Cause I trust your heart, I trust my heart, and I trust your mind, I trust my mind, and I trust the friends, I trust the friends I know you will find o'er the hill and on the road. So off you go. And remember, I believe in you.
Star Glow!
Hey Grownups, is your kid a fan of ghost stories? Well then have we got the podcast for you. The new middle grade podcast, Ghost Tour, is out now. Follow Lee and Vern, two totally opposite teens, as they explore Jepson, widely known as the most haunted city in America. They'll turn their local ghost tour company upside down when they meet an array of ghosts, revealing hard truths about their hometown and, in turn, themselves. Ghost Tour, a spooky and funny podcast. You can listen to it anywhere you get your podcasts.